Here we go again with the doctors getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies for prescribing their drugs. And this time, the culprit is Novartis. Normally, the pharmaceutical industry is supported by the FDA. And this time, however, the FDA has been forced to discipline Novartis due to its out-of-control bribing of MDs. Now, the U.S. government is suing Novartis because they gave $65 million in kickbacks to doctors for prescribing their drugs. Now, what are the drugs that Novartis is being sued for?
Yeah, well, it's no surprise that they're picking drugs that are not such popular drugs, but if they could just shift and get the pharmacists and the doctors to go along with it, because they're bribing pharmacists as well, by the way.
Yeah, what happened with that kidney drug?
Well, that was one, it was called Myfortic, okay? It's used for kidney transplantation. And it's not a commonly prescribed drug, but when they give kickbacks to the pharmacist for making a switch, now you're really talking about stuff that's bribery.
And also they disguised it as rebates and discounts. So
Well,
they
do
just
everything.
flat out lied.
Well, this is a business, Vicki. You have to remember that the business, okay, of making drugs is associated with making a profit. And if the pharmaceutical companies can find a way to make more profit, believe me, they're going to do it. And this is the example. Now, there were 3 drugs that were brought up in this particular lawsuit. 2 of them for hypertension. They're combination drugs, Lotrel, Valterna, and then another drug called Starlix, which is used to treat diabetes. And they gave $65 million in kickbacks to doctors and pharmacists, okay, for prescribing them. It's just unbelievable.
And they had some pretty improper programs, like at Hooters, and then they went to some restaurant. Yeah, some of the dinners. But one of the restaurants they went to was in Japan, and they spent $10,000.
So they say on
a
3
dinner
people.
for 3 people. Yeah. It's like, what did they eat?
Well, they must have had people fanning them and had lots of dancing girls.
Expensive caviar, and I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to spend that much money even in Japan. But anyway, we're talking about 38,000 speaker programs that were involved in some of this over a 10-year period. And a lot of this increased profits through the Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA system, because that's how they worked it. A lot of the speaker programs that they have there are given by people who they'd like to have on their team. And if they can get them on their team and they prescribe that, or they mention to other doctors at their lectures that these are what they would do, everybody kind of just listens to it and says, okay.
But this is increasing the costs of health care.
Oh, immensely.
Because they have to pay for it somewhere. We're paying for these expensive dinners.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
A lot of times people like to send emails and write in the paper or what have you to complain about the government and the politics and all the money that's spent that way on, you know, pleasure trips and so forth.
Well, there definitely have been cutbacks in this. There's no question that these companies pharmaceutical companies are spending less. But I'll give you an example of something that was really extreme a few years ago. Up in the Pacific Northwest, a group of 6 oncologists actually made $2.9 million for prescribing Procrit, Epigen, and Aranesp. These are all drugs that increase your blood count when you have cancer or kidney disease. And when you divide that by the 6 doctors, you're looking at an awful lot of money that's being paid to these oncologists for using their drugs and nothing else.
It's just so unethical. You know, it's like kicking people when they're down. It's like when there's a disaster and people start charging more money for water or supplies that they need. But there are rules against this kind of thing.
Well, it's business,
but it's
Vicki.
worth it to the pharmaceutical companies because they can afford to pay it, and it's worth it to them because they're making more money anyway.
Well, that's right. So let's say they get fined, you know, $200 million. That's a chunk of money, but let's say they made $4 billion. Now it's a good investment. And they look at it from that point of view, based on a lot of things that we've reported here already. Particularly if you're interested, look up the Vioxx story. That's VIOXX. Put that in the search box in drsabuto.com, and up will come this unbelievable story of terrible ethics in an effort to just make return on investment. So the drug companies need to be controlled. And when the FDA is stepping up and pointing their finger, you know they've really done something bad, because the pharmaceutical industry has a lot of friends in the FDA. So it's good to know about these things. It's good to rely less on drugs when you can, But when you're looking at the amount of conflict of interest that's here, something needs to be done at the level of Congress to stop it because it's just not right.